Going to counselling and exploring our thoughts and our fears with an empathetic counsellor who really hears us. Hugely helpful for people who are stuck, depressed and in pain. But counselling doesn't work for retroactive jealousy OCD. About 7 years ago, Guy came to see me with constant thoughts about how many people his wife had slept with before they met. And the thoughts and the mental images of her and all these other men, it was relentless. And it was waking him up at night too. I was familiar with OCD, but he wasn't checking or cleaning or tapping or doing any rituals as far as we could see. But all these thoughts, we needed to figure out what was going on. So we talked about the content of the thoughts, what it all meant, how his wife's past made him feel. And he got to express all this stuff that he'd been bottling up, which was a great relief. He loved his wife and they had a daughter together, but he had a deep-seated belief about how many men a woman should sleep with before settling down. And it wasn't many, and his wife's body count was higher, all before they met. He'd always known this, and he'd never liked it, but it felt more and more wrong as time went on, and now it felt intolerable. So we spent time unpacking this. Was it realistic? Could we reframe it? He'd slept with a bunch of women before, so wasn't it a bit hypocritical? And it was all in the past. His wife was with him now. So let's challenge that belief and see all the positives in his relationship and his family. And it worked there in the room. He'd reflect and say, do you know what? I think I get it now. I don't know what I was worrying about so much. She's great, my wife, and that's what matters. And as a therapist, that felt great to hear too, because phew, I've helped him. Except he'd come back the next week with exactly the same thoughts, images and the obsession. He'd say, I've been really struggling again. So we do it again because it worked last week. Oh, well, what have you been thinking about this week? And it was pretty much the same thoughts. Body count, feels wrong, can't stop thinking about it. Should we even be together? Well, I guess if we keep talking about it and understanding it, eventually we'll get there. And I'll show him some relaxation techniques too, to help with the anxiety around all this. And I explained that these feelings can be quite natural. He's certainly not the only guy to have them, which is true. And he leaves the room feeling more positive again. Phew, we're all right now. Until next week. This is a trap that well-meaning therapy can fall right into. We weren't getting anywhere. In fact, we were giving him more to chew on. Well, how many people should women sleep with? Maybe these ideas came from my parents. We didn't talk about these things at home. Maybe I've been feeling insecure since that girl dumped me at school. Thinking and ruminating. We were chewing the fat. It felt therapeutic, but it wasn't. Full disclosure. Luckily, I did realise, and I took some supervision on it and realised that all this thinking and ruminating was his OCD compulsion. So we took a different approach from there on in. This client taught me a lot about retroactive jealousy, and I am forever grateful. Counselling can be hugely beneficial for many other things, and I have full respect for counsellors, genuinely helping people every day. There are clear differences in how conventional counselling helps and doesn't help with RJOCD. Reassuring the client that they're fine. These are bully thoughts. The thing you're worrying about is really unlikely. You're catastrophizing. Now this has its place, but with retroactive jealousy, it just gives temporary relief. Sooner or later, the thoughts push back. But she did it. What if the feelings are telling me something? So reassurance only makes retroactive jealousy dig in. So we need to get better at not needing it, not needing to reassure ourselves. And a lot of counselling is open-ended. It goes where it goes. But without a clear protocol and structure, retroactive jealousy just leads us down one rabbit hole after another. And if we're not seeing some tangible improvements, less time spent in the grip of rumination and doubt within 8 to 10 weeks, something's not working in my opinion. What kind of therapy or therapist would I recommend for anyone struggling with retroactive jealousy? Exposure and response prevention, ERP, which is a form of cognitive behavioural therapy, CBT, specifically for intrusive thoughts and OCD. Now, not all forms of CBT are ideal for treating retroactive jealousy. The non-OCD form involves exercises like weighing up the evidence for and against your feared outcome. Really useful for a lot of catastrophizing and irrational fears, but retroactive jealousy will just eat that for breakfast. So exposure and response prevention, having the thoughts, the what-ifs, the mental images about our partner's past, and having the feelings too, the discomfort, the anger, the disgust, jealousy perhaps, and getting better at not reacting to any of it, not avoiding or pushing away or anything to fix it in the moment. That's the response prevention part, and it includes mental rumination. And in order to practice and develop this attitude towards our thoughts, to hold them more lightly and help our nervous system get the message that this is not an emergency, we do the exposure part. We find ways to deliberately lean in, have these thoughts on our own terms. So we turn the tables on retroactive jealousy by not avoiding it or fighting with it and taking back our agency. Now, I may sound like an ERP fanboy, I know, but I'm not alone. The NHS webpage on OCD recommends exposure and response prevention. The BACP website advises people with obsessive compulsive struggles to ask their counsellor if they have any training in CBT and ERP. ERP needs to be done correctly and consistently in order to work. See my video about some of the pitfalls when it comes to treating RJ. But guided by an experienced therapist, it makes a really positive difference. Of course, RJ OCD and depression or trauma, well, they're not mutually exclusive. So when we've made some inroads with ERP and our sensitivity to those thoughts about our partner's past has come down and the compulsions have abated, counselling may help with healing, facing a better future for both partners in the relationship perhaps. This way around ideally, otherwise we just prolong the process. So that was my hard-learned lessons about counselling and retroactive jealousy. By all means let me know in the comments if this resonates with you or if you feel differently, and I will be all ears. I hope this is helpful and thank you for watching.